So we can start. So good evening here in Asia. Good morning for participants from Washington, D.C. And good afternoon to others who are somewhere in between the two regions. So my name is Dina Umali Deininger, and I'm the practice manager for agriculture for East Asia and the Pacific. And I would like to welcome you all and to thank you for joining us on this webinar on building sustainable supply chains in agriculture in Indonesia using technologies and innovations. So this webinar is really part of a long series of the World Bank, a webinar series of the World Bank on data-driven and digital agriculture. So here we invite thought innovators, thought leaders, and World Bank task team leaders who are transforming agriculture and food systems using data-driven and digital agriculture to share their experiences. Also, just some housekeeping, just to repeat. Um, um, Please mute your microphone and maybe turn off your camera unless you're speaking, so we can preserve our bandwidth. We will have the question and answer portion after the speakers have made their presentation and the discussants. So, but if you have any questions, do add them in the chat box, and then we will then pass it along to our speakers afterwards. And also the presentation this presentation is being recorded, so it will be circulated to everybody plus the PowerPoint presentation and after the webinar. So going to now to our topic, given the millions of farmers, small farmers particularly in Indonesia and in all of East Asia and even in the world, a major challenge always has been, how do we link the small farmers to the market? Now, when COVID-19 hit us in January, it really exposed further the weaknesses of our food system in making the food move from the farm to the consumers. So a big question then it has been since then, how do we then take advantage of digital technologies and e-commerce to prevent a repeat of all these food supply disruptions and making our food systems work better? So so this evening we're really very fortunate and honored to have two distinguished speakers, Mr. Pamitra Wineka and Sario, who will share with us the experience of TaniHub of using digital technologies to make the markets work better by linking farmers to the market and making the food systems work better in Indonesia. So just a bit more background on our speaker. So Pa Eka is the co-founder and president of the TaniHub Group, which operates the e-commerce platform TaniHub, the peer-to-peer lending platform TaniFund, and the supply chain management TaniSupply. So Paeka is also the founding partner of Akulaku, Southeast Asia's leading fintech lending platform. He is one of the recipients of the Ganesha Widya Jasa Utama Awards from the Bandung Institute of Technology, which is an award given to individuals and institutions that are successful in developing science and technology breakthroughs internationally and domestically. So Paeka is actually a World Bank alumni. I heard that he had worked formerly as a researcher focusing on microfinance. So he has a degree in mathematics from the Bandung Institute of Technology and a degree of economics from the University of Illinois in Champaign-Urbana. So our other speaker, Pasario, is the director of the TaniSupply, a company responsible for supply chain management under the TaniHub Group. But before joining TaniHub, Pasario was responsible for supervising the ultra-fresh procurement, supply chain, and first QA, QC implementation, as well as store management in Hypermart. He also led the Dairy Farm Indonesia under the Hero Group as Director of Fresh Products. So let me hand it over now to Pa Eka and Pa Sorio to make their presentations.
Thank you, Dina. Hi, everyone. So today I'm going to talk a little bit. The presentation will be in two parts. So mostly my part would be more of like the story of how TaniHub started and like what problems are we trying to solve in the Indonesian agriculture space. And Sario would be talking more on the on like what are we doing more specifically on the supply chain side, since the supply chain side is actually the most important, crucial part of the Indonesian agri sector. Digitalization and all these implementation of tech is actually, I would say it's actually the second most important part after the supply chain. But since Indonesia doesn't have either one, so like that's why like Sario is going to talk about like more on the supply chain first before the tech part. So like as Dina was mentioning, I previously was at the World Bank, and this is exactly the time where I actually got ideas to develop Aku Laku and also TaniHub Group. So during that time, back in 2016, I was working on a research on access to finance for farmers, and also like how are like the microfinance institutions and co-ops doing in Java. And I did like a 1 month tour all around these villages, and in my research, it was actually, I found that most of the financial institutions were doing really great, except for the ones lending to farmers. And I started digging a little bit deeper, and then I found that actually these farmers, they couldn't repay their loans. It was mostly because they had no access to market. So they had good harvest, and like they wanted to sell it, but no one was there to buy it. And I actually figured out that actually this is the main problem for all farmers around the world, that access to market makes them the lack of access to market makes them want to only manage smaller farms, and that's why like these farmers are smallholder farmers. This is how me and the other co-founders, we met together. We had the same kind of passion to help on the social part, and that's why we starting from this small social project, we became one of Indonesia's leading, even Southeast Asia's biggest agritech company. Is all all just trying to solve this simple problem. And on this slide here, there's I'm just mentioning about all the inefficiencies in the Indonesian supply chain for fresh produce. And no, could you go back? Yeah, and could you go back one more slide? Yes. So starting from the pre-harvest, harvest, post-harvest, transportation, storage, distribution, up to the processing and packaging, everything is lacking. And because like once the farmer wants to start planting, they don't have it's difficult for them to get the seeds, first of all, the fertilizers, and also to get enough funding to buy like the higher quality inputs. And even if they can like solve that issue by borrowing from loan sharks or from like other like alternative lending, when they start harvesting, they their results are usually not optimal. So because they use suboptimal, sub-quality inputs, the grade A of their produce are usually less than 30%, and together with B, it's probably less than 50%, which means that 50% of their only 50% of their harvest is actually a good quality that the market can accept. Meanwhile, like the other 50%, a lot of them goes to waste or goes just to like gets sold at a really low price. And for like the ones that they can sell, once it's being sent for like storage and transportation, usually the farmers don't have an adequate equipment or infrastructure, so sometimes it gets stored poorly, and it gets damaged in the process, and this is exactly the problem that we have for the farmers. Okay, next. And this is why, in TaniHub Group, we're trying to attack all of these problems, but grouping them into certain companies so that these companies can focus more on these problems, like starting from funding, where we try to solve them like through TaniFund, where we give them the funding and the inputs and also the knowledge. And once the harvest, when there's harvest, we process them in our fulfillment centers, and also we do the packing, sorting, all in TaniFund, TaniSupply's processing infrastructure and supply chain infrastructure. And once everything's ready and sorted, we market it through TaniHub. Okay, next. And in our platform right now, we have approximately 30,000, actually right now it's 35,000 farmers, and we managed to, in our internal survey, we did a survey with the farmers, and on average, they have a 20% increase in their income. And for TaniFund, we have approximately 1,500 farmers that we give funding. And they experience a 30% increase in their income and 28% increase in harvest yields, because we help them provide better quality inputs and see like how it's very useful for them, and also like not storing their money under their bed, but actually properly managing their finance and saving money in the bank. Okay, next. Okay, and of course, like the SDGs are, sustainable development goals are actually part of like what our mission is. Sorry, the questions keep popping up. So yeah, are always part of like all of what we're trying to do in our company. And we try to touch like these five, especially like these five SDGs, which is first is no poverty, because we try to help first of all increase the price of the crops, and also decrease the price of the crops that for the buyer. So we try to decrease the price disparity so that everyone can afford food, good quality food. And good quality food comes with on the SDG number 3, where we try to be able to make fruits, vegetables more accessible for everyone at a good price, because in here vegetables are always even in Indonesia, vegetables, since they're very hard to manage to transport and also process. So a lot of people, they just quit vegetable, just eat rice and tofu, or just rice and chicken, and skip the veggies and also the fruits. And right now, because we can manage to transport it and process it, so it becomes affordable and easy to access. And SDG number 8, like decent work and economic growth. We try to, because farming is always associated to like poverty, but right now we changed it. So we actually made farmers, their profession like get better, and also they earn more. So it generates like more wealth in the villages, so that they have more money there, and then they can invest it in their children and all that. And SDG 12, where responsible consumption and production, where we manage because we manage end to end, so we control like what chemicals that they can use, what seeds they can use. So so it's also not it touches like the SDG number 13 too, where you know there's sustainable farming too, and also like the food that we consume does not use like these bad pesticides or other chemicals. Okay, next. And like our team is mostly compared to like other startups where most of them are very, very young. In our company, most of the young are actually in the tech, product, and non-operational and non-commercial roles. It's because like because this sector really needs a lot of experienced people to be able to manage such a difficult kind of operations and very sophisticated kind of supply chain process. So yeah, as the Ansario here is our supply chain director, and he has so much experience handling all this. And maybe I'm going to give it to him so that he can explain a little bit more about like what we've been working on the supply chain. Sario, go ahead. I think you're still muted, Sario.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Eka. As we know that in Indonesia there are two types of agriculture. One is for large plantation. So either it is owned by the state or private companies, which takes around 50%, 15% of total agriculture in Indonesia. And then the second one is smallholder production modes, where mostly is family owned and run by traditional agricultural households. It is around 85%. So this is our main focus, because they are actually mostly a very traditional way. And as we see in the chart below, that based on the Indonesian census of 2018, that 64% of Indonesian farmer is in the age group of 45 up. So it shows that the regeneration of farmers of Indonesia is in dangerous position, and less and less youngsters are encouraged to go back to continue the parents' profession. And mostly, as we can see, that the urbanization or people moving to work and stay in cities are growing from year to year. So next, this is how we build or we tackle the problems that or the threat that Eka mentioned. We have three companies. So number one is first being established is to answer the off-take problem or the market problem. There is TaniHub. TaniHub will help all the farmers to off-take their crops. And the second company that was built is in the ecosystem is to help the farmers with the access of funding. As we know that most of the traditional farmers, they are not well, or Indonesian finance system or banking is not designed to tackle agriculture problem. So that is why we build in the mode of peer-to-peer lending to give more access to the farmers. Next is the third company that was being established in exactly in September last year was TaniSupply that was made to answer the problem of the supply chain, and then as well as answering the also Indonesian regulation about distribution that we need to have a license for distributing for the modern trade or reseller. The next one is the partnership. As we know that we cannot work alone, so that is why we have gathered a lot of or we try to connect to as many as partnership as possible, the marketplace especially, with the government as well, R&D with the campus, financial institution, industry, and then the supply chain for the first mile, mid mile, and last mile, and then non-profit organization, HORECA, and so on. And why in here, how does TaniHub solve the fragmented multimodal logistics play in Indonesia? As we know that Indonesia is archipelago country, that we are in islands. Just for illustration, that from tip of Sumatra to fly to Jakarta, it will take around two and a half to 3 hours. From Jakarta to east of Indonesia to Papua, it will take around 5 hours flight. So end to end, it will take from 8 to 9 hours flight, which is further than we fly from Indonesia to Australia. And it will take a combination of land and also sea freight transportation. On the left side in the map, we can see that mostly Java is more or the most populated islands rather than other islands, because as we see in the right side in the soil map, that mostly the volcano are in Java and Sumatra, yet in Kalimantan and East Indonesia is the land is not suitable for plantation, or it is more suitable to only large plantation like estate crops like rubber and so on, or coffee. And how to solve the challenge, solving supply and demand challenge? We have two methods. Number one, to be closer to the source, we develop a packing and processing center. So at the moment, we have already launched our first packing and processing center in East Java. Because in East Java, there are a lot of, it is also a production center for fruits, all the local fruits. And then to solve the distribution problem, we built a warehouse that is located more on the city center. So we have two models here: the National Fulfillment Center for large scale, and also for fulfillment hub for the smaller one, for smaller cities. And these are our this is our roadmap plan and development plan, that in the future, in the next 1 or 2 years, we plan to go further to Sumatra, to Kalimantan, to Sulawesi, and to East Indonesia up to Papua. And from the tech side, we have to talk to the farmers. We have the farmer apps. So this is one of the application where farmer can post their harvest plan and their expected price. And then on the other end is for the client app or for the buyer apps. And also for the backend system like uh, warehouse management system and also master data management. And for the TaniFund, we have built a sophisticated application for crop monitoring. So where we quote unquote force the farmer to report on their activities so that we can record, we can get the best practice from certain crops to be replicated to other farmers. And also we also have a lender website where we can show the uh, lenders on the upcoming project and the ongoing project. And what happened and how TaniHub Group faced this the COVID crisis on the as a company. Of course, we are during the COVID. Actually, it is hate to say that it is a blessing for us because there was a spike of demand where people feel more comfortable not seeing people. So that is why we also launch contactless delivery in our application. And then we apply also certain safety procedure in our warehouse and hubs. And of course, for the fuel of growth for Indonesian agriculture, we see several points that is interesting for the governments and other stakeholders can focus on. Especially one is infrastructure. One illustration that I usually explain is actually sea freight from China. When we know that during I think 5 to 10 years ago when carrots are still allowed to be imported, it is cheaper to import carrot from China rather than we are shipping carrots from Brastagi in the tip of Sumatra, North Sumatra, and to send to Jakarta. So I think that there are a lot of opportunities that if the infrastructure of road transportation can be built well, I think there is an opportunity to drop down the cost of the product itself. And research and development, a lot of talents is needed. Researchers, I think, also need to be. It could be a great help for Indonesian agriculture, especially on the seeds and good fertilizers and so on. Policies and relevant regulations from the government also to support on the Indonesian agriculture improvement. International market access, it will help also in increasing the value chain that actually, for example, we have a lot of well-known fruits actually, but unfortunately, we are also having problem with post-harvest technology where our fruits cannot be sent well outside to Indonesia. Yet, last time we are in a small discussion with Leslie, I also mentioned that actually we have a very famous durian, Montong durian. Actually, it tastes as good as Thailand's, but we are facing challenges where durian from Sulawesi cannot reach Jakarta well without being damaged. So it is also an opportunity or you know factor of improvement that we can get to boost Indonesian agriculture. Big data involvement as well, data collecting, price disparity is mostly caused because of the lack of information. And fair trade also will become better in the future if there is more data being served or digested by the farmers. For example, even until now, the farmers of Chile, they just know the price after the goods arrive in the market. So it is sad. Yeah, very sad to know that during the visit with IFC last time to Banyuwangi in uh, East Java last time, that they complained that we don't know the price until the goods arrive in the market. So I think this access of data or information will help a lot in improving the farmers' income as well. And then more focus on on-farm production grants maybe, and then introducing more renewable energy for agriculture also will help in preserving the nature. I think that's all from me, I think.
So thank you very much, Pa Eka and Pa Sario, for your presentations. Let me turn it over now to our discussants. Let me call on Leslie Go, who is our Senior Technology Advisor at the World Bank. Over to you, Leslie.
So much, Dina, and thank you so much to TaniHub for the opportunity to learn from you. So I focus on technology innovation at the intersection of tech and policy framework to address development agenda. And it is always great to learn about real-life application and stories such as TaniHub in developing countries. I gather a few areas and important lessons for agriculture initiatives that are applicable in other developing countries. There are 4 points that I've taken notes today. One is cross-sector development, the linkage from agritech to agri-finance platform by developing financial products that are well-suited for farmers' production cycle, and connecting the TaniHub with commercial banks and other sources of funding for the farmers, smallholder farmers. Then there is also the importance of strategic partnership. The TaniHub has expanded the network of farmers by introducing new avenues and engaging with new agriculture partners such as government. The role of government is important. I think there are some questions that the audience are asking about that as well. B2B relationship, that's also very important for the farmers, and also the whole entire supply chain that you mentioned with integrating with third-party logistics, addressing first mile, mid-mile, and the last mile, and that's critical in the case of Indonesia archipelago landscape. And then third point is around building resilience during COVID, and you mentioned a few examples of that to address the risk and challenges, and also opportunity where now there's more online presence and e-commerce when people are in a lockdown mode. So strengthening the firm's risk management platform while helping smallholder farmers, such as I think in conversation in the past, we talk about contactless transaction as well, and the use of technology in the areas of sorting practice. The other one that is also, of course, close and dear to my heart is around the use of technology, capacity building and use of tech for innovation, producing climate smart agriculture to smallholder farmers and to encourage sustainable agriculture practices in growing more food at lower cost through innovative practices that are important for the long-term future of smallholder farmers, especially in the use of fertilizers and irrigations of the types of land that they use. So I'm kind of thinking about what are the future considerations, the linkage to deepen the development impact for smallholder farmers and sustainability in agriculture, and what more could be done to get greater positive impact for the digital economy in Indonesia as inspiration for the rest of East Asia Pacific region. Perhaps one suggestion is to bring in more youth. You have Pak Eka mentioned about getting more of the young generation, but how about using that as a way to spur innovation and bring in the next generation of farmers to help innovate faster? And the other one is looking at big data and AI to disrupt the digital transformation in agriculture value chain. The concept of smart agriculture emphasizes use of information and communication technology in connecting the digital to the analog world of agriculture. How could we think about new technologies such as Internet of Things, cloud, edge computing that could accelerate automation through the use of drones, robotics, artificial intelligence in farming? What if we consider big data, which is massive volumes of data collected from all these different sensors and different parts of the supply chain and e-commerce platform to analyze and use responsibly for the decision-making and revolutionize the real-time operational decisions for smallholder farmers on the mobile devices readily available for them anywhere in the farming cycle? I wonder if such an innovation hub concept would work in Indonesia as a catalyst to unlock the fullest potential in agriculture to address social, economic challenges in developing countries. Thank you so much. And I also pass the floor to my colleague, Animesh, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie, and thank you, Dina. Pa Eka and Pa Sario, a very sincere, heartfelt thanks to you for a fascinating presentation. We have a very large audience, and you had seen the questions rolling in much earlier, and I can totally understand that. You have kind of ignited people's interest. And from where I sit, just to kind of introduce myself briefly, I'm lead agriculture economist, and I will be working in the East Asia region for the next several years. From where I sit, you have hit 3 sweet spots that are important to us. You focused on the small farmer, and as you rightly said, market is the engine that pulls the whole locomotive. That's what we are trying to do all the time. So you're focused on the small farmer, and some results that you've shared are like amazing, 20, 30% income growth. That's the sort of thing the World Bank Group is deeply interested in. Shared prosperity agenda, as we call it. The second part of the sweet spot is that you are the private sector. We are interested as a World Bank Group to bring private sector. We see our role as enabling and releasing private sector energies, financing, enterprise, and so on. So you're already there and doing it. And the third part is that it is all completely embedded in innovations and technology and forward look. That's exactly what we also want to see in agriculture. In a bit of a nerdy term, it is the total factor productivity growth. We want to see growth from value creation, from innovation, so that it is using less resources and more ideas, more opportunities, more the price arbitrage, more cutting out inefficiencies. So from that point of view, this is a fascinating presentation because it's a proof of the pudding. You've done it, not just done it, as you rightly say, and I would like to get to know you better over the years. The largest sort of this kind of activity going on in East Asia, that's significant. So very big thanks for sharing this. In terms of some of the things that caught my mind, and I'm sure there are many questions, and of course the questions take priority, but in terms of some of the things that are maybe either you feel put it into your answers or for later conversations. There are 3 or 4 things that one would like to see going forward. You set up a remarkable operation and it's growing. What can be done on the side by other partners and players to help this grow? This is part of a broader question of social interest. How can we make players like you grow? How can we replicate experiments like you? And as the World Bank Group, we do have the advantage that we work with groups as well through our group models, whether it is producer groups, producer alliances, training, and so on. We also work with policymakers. So it'd be interesting to understand what kind of capabilities are there, especially when you're working with such a diverse group as a small farmer group, that can help lower the transaction cost or better prepare the landscape for innovators like yourselves. It could be small things like digital literacy. It could be things about support structures, support organizations, and so on. Yeah, Pasario had mentioned a number of public goods of the more traditional variety, infrastructure, R&D, and so forth. But one would like to go a bit more, because when you look at the high-tech world, and not necessarily in agriculture, high-tech world globally, somehow the government is finding itself back into this space more and more in sort of working with companies to help reduce their transactions costs, maybe reduce their risks, and so on and so forth. And that's a valid, potentially valid role for government support or for community support. So that's something to kind of understand. The other one that I was really impressed by, at least from what I gather, is that the success of your model comes a lot from keeping an eye on a number of critical variables. And it is remarkable what you seem to be able to keep your eye on, from production conditions and quality and product safety to demand, supply match, and all along the thing. That's pretty intensive. So some conversation at some point about how you're using technology to cut down what seem to be costly things, because you're serving small heterogeneous groups. You're kind of customizing for them. So you must be pushing technology quite hard to bring them the benefits while they don't sink you with the costs. So some understanding of the cost drivers that you keep an eye on, otherwise it sinks your model, and some understanding of your profit drivers and how public and other investments can improve that so that there are more of yourselves in that ecosystem would be very useful. And the last one, I do want to leave more time for discussion, otherwise I could go on, as you can imagine from how interesting this presentation is. But the last one is a bit about risks, because your story is really quite a success story, and all the more remarkable given the inherently risky environment in which it is working. Smallholders, markets, perishables, and so forth. And maybe one can use COVID experience as a laboratory. What happened? How did you absorb risk? Who absorbs the risk? If the market suddenly goes down, if the pricing suddenly goes, if there's a supply muddle, nothing to do with you, but let's say a crash on a road that blocks it maybe for 2 days for perishables and so on. I'm trying to imagine some silly risks, but you would know the better ones. So how do you absorb all the risks? That would be incredibly heroic, but may not be fully viable? Or how do we socialize some of this risk? Because you are socializing some of the benefits. What would be a fair way to do? What would be, in a sense, I'm asking the question about chain equity in terms of distribution of gains and risks. So anyway, lots and lots of questions that, as I say, I could go on, but let me stop by, again, congratulating you and your young company about this thing. And I would say that the excitement is not just that you've solved what is an old problem, but what is the core problem of agriculture, producing for the market, but also through energizing it, positioning agriculture to serve as a vehicle for broader rural transformation, broader structural transformation of the economy by attracting back younger people, energized people, different ideas, by opening up the model for all kinds of innovations from packaging and labeling and ag plus products, maybe bringing demand in through agro-touristic things over time. So it's a model that also re-energizes the rural, or has the potential to re-energize the rural economy. And again, that's one reason why we would be very interested to see how this can be taken forward. So thank you very much, and maybe look forward to opportunities to interact more with you and your company over time.
Yeah, the honor is ours. Yeah, thank you very much.
Okay, so thank you, Parmesh and Leslie. I think we have lots and lots and lots of questions on the chat box, but maybe I will give you the, I think for a start, to let you respond to some of the questions that Animesh and Leslie have posed, and then we will go to the questions of the participants. So over to you, Paika, Pasario.
Okay, so I mean, since I'm just trying to make. I mean, I see there's so many questions here. Let me just try to group some of the questions and answer it like all at once. So most of like I mean, what Animesh and Ibu Leslie was mentioning was, okay, like what is like the next step of us, and also like how are we gonna collaborate with governments to make their policy more effective? You know, like what can make the country like make better decisions is data. And there's mentioning about AI and also all that. Of course, like that is something that's possible, but it's possible with enough data because you need to teach the computer, right? And I saw like there was one question about, I mean, one saying about, oh, TaniHub is basically an early stage company, and like like I think before we jump into like AI and everything else, I think we have to think about our profitability and sustainability and all that stuff. That is actually correct, because as any, whatever, how fancy any company is, like, you know, they still have to be sustainable and be profitable first, so that they can make have a bigger impact in the future. And fortunately, TaniHub is, even though we are an early stage company, but we are an early stage company that is already making like net profit. So like we are actually a very profitable company compared to others. And this is all because of you know, the work that Pasario has been doing, especially on making a very efficient supply chain. We're actually paying the farmers more, selling it less to the customers, and still making a really handsome margin. So that is actually something that that makes us different. And we're actually the you know, like we have the biggest like set of farmers, and the more farmers we onboard, the more buyers we onboard, the more efficient we can actually be, and actually that's how we make our profitability. And about the SDGs, there's a question about SDGs and why isn't like SDG 2, the zero hunger, included? Actually, it is. You're right. Actually, because that is part of like what we want to do. We want to make food affordable and as cheap as possible at the best quality. It's just that we're touching a lot of SDGs. I don't want to look like a company like one of those startups that are trying to like touch all all 17 things all at once. We're just trying to focus on several first. But yeah, you're right about the zero hunger. It is. It is part of like our target. And how do we select farmers to participate in TaniHub and TaniFund? So we maybe Sari, you can also jump in for something related to TaniSupply. Yeah, maybe you can also answer this one. Like, how do you select the farmers who can participate in TaniHub and TaniFund?
Maybe Pa Eka, there are a bunch of questions related to the farmers. So maybe let's put them together, and be you and Pa Sari and Astrid can answer. Okay, there are several questions. So the first one was, how do you select the farmers? And do you only work with small farmers? Do you also work with big farmers? And once you have decided that you're working with them, how do you facilitate access to inputs like the seeds and the fertilizer? And do the farmers also get customized advice as well as information on demand? How do you set your prices? Is it different for each farmer, or is it a generic price? And how do you deal with the older farmers? Are they open to working with digital technologies? Okay, let me stop there first. It's a whole bunch of questions related to small farmers.
Yeah, maybe yes, Sari, just add just feel free to add what I'm answering. So basically, we don't work with individual farmers because it's just at the beginning when we were still a very small company, we didn't have the luxury to spend all the money to really like talk to one by one. No, we didn't approach the smallholder farmers first. We actually did the low-hanging fruits, which were actually the bigger farmers, the champions of the region. And from them, since we connected them with a lot of buyers, they ended up like having more demand. And because they had more demand, they needed more supply, which actually helped us to they actually helped tell the other farmers around their village to like, okay, why don't you all like register to TaniHub, but all the pickup sites would be in the co-op or in that group, that big group of farmers. So that big group of farmers actually became the aggregator for the village, which actually made it easier for us, so that we only had one pickup point instead of like multiple pickup points in one region. So that's how we started. And usually in that one group, the more progressive, the easier the group. We found that the easier group to work with were the ones that were headed by a younger farmer that was very technology kind of savvy. That at least if they understood how to use Facebook or social media in general, they can actually operate our app. And the older ones, yeah, I mean, fortunately, they listened to the younger leader. So all we needed was just to convince. Indonesia is a very group kind of culture. So when the when the elder or the most respected young guy, because the young guy is probably the son of the very influential leader in the village, when he says A, everyone follows him. So when he says A, you know, like we have to schedule like a harvest every Tuesday and Friday and deliver everything here, everyone delivers it, and then so that it's easier for the guy to register. What amazing things that Sario has done, and actually what made us stand out compared to other businesses similar like us, is we're the only one that has a processing and packing house in the village area. So since we have a lot of group of farmers registered with us, and they've been transporting all of their goods to our warehouse that was near the city, we actually just, okay, why don't, you know, rather than you come to us, why don't we come to you? So we established a really big processing and packing house where there all the big, medium, and even small groups that previously couldn't reach us or couldn't reach the bigger groups, they all could reach this PPC and drop their goods there, and then we just process everything there. We pack it and then we distribute it to the warehouses. So it's part of us kind of reducing carbon trail, and also like making it easier for the smallholder farmers to deliver it directly, because there are some, we do understand there are some groups that are very exclusive and they don't want to accept like small other members. So you know, these poor small members, you know, like they have no opportunity. So well, we just opened the PPC there so that everyone could come and drop their goods, right, Sario?
Yeah. Yes, well, early days when I joined, the first 2 weeks when I joined TaniHub, what I see is several improvement. For example, there were a lot of disputes from the farmers. Why the farmers don't want to send the goods to us? So what we see is there was no clear information from us to the farmer. For example, what is rejected, what is accepted. So at that time, we tried to build what we call with product spec. So I built with the team a proper product spec to be distributed to the farmers so that they know if this item they keep sending, which is substandard, it will be rejected. So in that way, we taught the farmer to be disciplined. So helping the farmers, it is not as simple as buying all the crops, we pay, if they have overstock, then we absorb. I think we are not helping the farmers, because what we learned these years is, let's say they have overstock of 2 tons, and then we said we absorb. Then what will be understood by the farmers is, okay, 2 tons, next season I will plant 4 tons. TaniHub will absorb anyway. So this is what we are telling them, that please be careful about the seasonality. They need to know that this type of season, for example, we are having very volatile price for chili, for example. During Lebaran, the chili will grow very expensive, and then all of the sudden everybody will plant chili, and then on one point, then they will become overstock, and then the chili price will drop like crazy. So a lot of farmers, they are trying to gamble about that. So this is what we are teaching the farmers about this. Number 2, what I saw in the early stage of TaniHub is the warehouse. We don't have proper cold chain to preserve the quality. So at that time, it was very still, quote unquote, very traditional, without any cold chain. So I tell the CEO that I said we need to invest in the cold chain. At that time, they say, "Ah, expensive." Then I try to okay, let's sit down, analyze. If we invest in certain numbers and then we can drop down the quality decrease and the breakage up to certain points, then in 6 months, then there will be a return already. So that is number two. Number three is the QC process that we introduce to the farmer. Yeah, and everything is recorded. Let's say one example. We introduce what it is, the tools of refractometer, for example. Previously, it was only tested by mouth. Oh, it is sweet. You know, after you try 2 or 3 fruits that is very sweet, and then you try another fruit, then you say that it is tasteless. So there was no quantifier. So we introduced the farmer. This is sweet. This is the bricks number. We show them the digital bricks. Then we tell them that this is how we receive the goods. So those 3 items that we started first to gain back the trust of the farmer. And then I think the key from what we are talking about, and Pamesh also asked, what is the secret? The secret is simple: volume, volume, volume. So that is why we build from the other side. We build from the demand, and simultaneously we are building the database of farmers, what they are growing, when it is harvesting, and we try to match. Yeah. Although, for example, there is a demand of 2 tons of potato, but in a certain quality degree. So we have the farmers, but sometimes it doesn't match the quality. Number one. Number two, let's say on the 10th of September, there is a demand of 20 tons of tomato. Yet there are also mismatch of harvest time. So since we mentioned about how traditional our farmers still at the moment, we are having the challenge. So there is still a mismatch of harvest time, quantity, quality degree, and so on. So that is why we are working hard on one side to strengthen the absorb, or through the demand, so that we can talk to the farmers. Like I mentioned about winning the heart of the farmers, the universal language is simple. TaniHub absorb everything. If you harvest, you come to TaniHub, finish. So by getting their heart, then the next step, it is easier for us to educate them, to tell them that if you want to supply to TaniHub, if you want your problem to be solved, if you want your quantity to be absorbed 100%, then you need to implement GAP, for example. Then it is easier for the farmers. Okay, if I follow this, the offtake it's clear. So TaniHub is helping. So it is not. So that's why we are not choosing the other way around, educating first and then absorb. So winning the heart is getting their trust. Yet there is one interesting story that I mentioned also when I had the chance to do in a seminar in Singapore last time, is that sometimes agriculture in Indonesia is one of the uniqueness is sometimes this is the product that money cannot buy. For example, you come to one farmer and said, I buy your product 10% more expensive. Sometimes they just say that, I don't know you, I don't want to sell to you. This is also make one uniqueness why we have a lot of field team that speak their local language, talk to them. Yet sometimes for the new farmers, yeah, it is not as simple as register and then they will sell to you. No, sometimes you need to spend in their house, talk about their family. My youngest son, now he's going to school and so on. Sometimes it will take 2 days. Okay, let's have coffee. Let's have coffee. Let's eat. Why don't you stay overnight at my house and so on? So the approach sometimes it is very unique, and it takes time, because Indonesian mostly they like socializing. They are eager to help you. They're eager to listen to you if they feel secure, if they feel that, okay, this person is in my shoes and so on. So technology, of course, we are introducing how to work faster by implementing machine in our PPC. We have just implemented, or we have just installed 2 machines that can sort by size, by blemish, by weight, and by bricks or sweetness. So then we can say that, okay, we can increase the value in each chain, as well as we are having one common words that is usually we use. We understand that we cannot do everything ourselves. So that is why collaboration is very important, Pamesh. Like Pamesh mentioned, that is there any fields that the other departments or other sector can help? Yes, anything. So we don't have in plan, Eka. I think you also agree. We don't have in mind to create our own drone that can water the land and so on. We don't think about satellite imaging doing by ourselves. I think collaboration is the most easiest thing, and more more realistic for us to do, while we are focusing on the supply chain from the upstream up to the distribution side, while we are making sure that all of the crops, all of the results are absorbed well. Then again, after they feel that, okay, TaniHub help us, TaniHub is useful, TaniHub buy everything from us, then they will start listening. Then from there, we can start putting in bit by bit about GAP, good agricultural practice, more control of using fertilizer, preserving the water and soil and so on. I think that's my addition.
Okay, thank you, Pasario. Astrid, did you want to add anything else?
Astrid will keep answering by...
Okay. Okay, so we have another set of questions. One is on logistics, because you did mention that given the size of Indonesia, how do you organize logistics in such a very, I guess, big country with many challenges? And then there's another set of questions on how you set prices. Is it, I think Astrid answered that as market driven. And finally, there's a question a lot about government. Do you work with the government? Has the government been helpful to you? Or were there things that were kind of making life more difficult for you? And I think that's where we, the bank, can also help. Okay, so over to you.
Eka, please.
Oh, you're giving the difficult questions to me.
Yeah.
Well, do you want the honest answer, or like the
Honest answer, please, because then we can, it's something maybe we can raise for you.
Actually introducing us with a lot of programs that they have, and also introducing us with, for example, the Ministry of Agriculture has helped introduce us to the champion farmers to be onboarded. That's one. The regional government has also helped us get to know like where are the areas where there's a high concentration of farmers planting chili peppers or from rice. So that has been really helpful on onboarding like the farmers. As for like I mean, it's part of like we're also helping them on that. And other things is also like we have now like a special permit to travel through regions. I think as for like the central government, they've actually right now the Jokowi has transformed the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to more of like a sales, like foreign sales. So instead of just doing diplomatic work, I think they're also very active in trying to find things that they can sell from Indonesia. So the program's still going on, but hopefully there's something there's some good results coming soon. I know the market's difficult right now. And also like the Ministry of Cooperatives, co-ops and SMEs, this guy has been very enthusiastic in like bringing all the digital kind of platforms to help access all these SMEs and also co-ops, and trying to make all their process of selling and also getting access to finance more easier. So I think they've been very helpful too. Yeah, he's been very like supportive of like all the things that we've been doing. We're looking forward to help him on the distribution of seeds and fertilizers, since the government has a huge subsidy on this, and they're trying to trying to distribute all the seeds and fertilizers correctly. So far in the past, because they don't have proper data, they send fertilizers for tomatoes to rice farmers, or like they send like chicken feed or animal feed to farmers of potatoes. Like it's always they don't have the correct database. So hopefully, like we have a good collaboration. We can tell them exactly, okay, these are the farmers and their location is this. They produce this much. Because right now everything's based on 5-year census like survey that they do. So sometimes they send seeds, fertilizers like in tons, and then like actually the farmers they don't even have a farm anymore. It became a housing area. So like these things, this is why data is very important, and I think this is why government should partner with platforms like us, and this is also how we scale up to, and like how we can give impact nationwide. Yeah.
Well, answering about the logistics side, yeah. That is why at the moment we still are focusing in Java, because we don't want to only tackle on one side. So when we start to or decide to open physical branches, for example, in one city or one island, we need to onboard the 3 companies. So while doing trading with TaniHub and TaniSupply, TaniFund also need to jump in to tackle the problem of the financing, cultivation, and so on. Now, since we are focusing so much on the logistics, we found out that there are inefficiency in our logistics. For example, we found out that while transporting our goods from Malang, East Java to Jakarta, to Bandung, and so on, we found out that actually the price or the cost price per kg of cold chain truck and without cold chain actually is the same. And we found out that if the farmer is using third-party cars or transportation like they are doing now, actually they could not or what we found out is the current transportation is charging around 300 with 300% margin. So imagine if we can break this type of ice, yeah, and we dig deeper later. That imagine how efficient our logistic costs, which is in the end also will help us to have the efficiency of the cost, or we lower down the cost of the product. In the end, it will be useful for Indonesians itself, because more access to cheaper price commodities like what Eka mentioned. Yeah. Inefficiency also in the production. Recently also we found out that we just had an MOU with Pertani. It is like government-owned company. We found out that there are a lot of inefficiency in the production of the rice itself. There is also mentioned why sometimes we still need to import rice, and in the production of rice itself. And I find out that the margin from the farmer itself of the rice farmer, it's very low. That is one of the answer maybe why there are a lot of farmers that is selling their lands and sending their kids away from their house, and tell them that don't be like your father. Go to the city, go to the school, work in a bank, or work in a private sector with better income, because this is what they find. And in one of the statistic that I've ever read, that the labor cost or the labor wage of farming, agriculture, is the lowest in the Indonesian market. It is much lower than let's say service sector. Even though there are also a disparity or differences in labor wages between male and female, it is also very for me it is a sad story. If the labor cost or the labor wages of the farming or agriculture is going higher, then maybe there will be a lot of people will go back to the village and work as a farmer. I think that's what we can see at the moment in the logistics side.
Thank you. I think that's a very important message, that for farmers to stay, we really have to help them increase their incomes. And I think they're already doing that by trying. I see 28% increase in farmer incomes, and that is just moving to like higher value products like fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
Now, okay, we're almost at the end. There's some final set of questions. One is that I guess now you're handling fruits and vegetables. Are you going to also expand to livestock, like dairy and other meat products, or organic production? And I guess linked to that is, where do you see the whole TaniHub, TaniFund, TaniSupply going in the future in terms of scaling up? We're very interested in this because the government have asked us for support to develop the sector, and the thing is to scale up programs like yours. So where do you see your future going in the next couple of years? You're on mute.
Yeah. I will answer easiest part first. The difficult one I will let Eka to answer. In near future, we are planning to jump into livestock. of course. We are searching a perfect location now for slaughterhouse. Last month, I just had a traveling to Central Java. There is one good slaughterhouse. Actually, they have B certification also already, food safety ready, which is very interesting. While we can see that this sector is still far away from being good, or it is much far away from fruit and vegetable and the other staple crops, and then as well as the slaughterhouse for poultry, and then dairy product. Of course, actually we are working with a couple of dairy farmers that is sending their milks to Ultra Jaya and the other big companies Indonesia, like Cimori and so on. We are helping them through the fundings, the working capital and so on. So why we seems to be very, ambitious, want to do here and there, as we know that when we are talking to industry, they prefer to talk to one-stop solution. When we are talking about HORECA, when you say that big restaurants, oh, can you supply us? Oh, can we supply you vegetable? Then they will say, can you supply us with the vegetable, the fish, the poultry, the meat, and so on. So this is one of the strategy in sourcing side, yeah, in merchandising side, is to become one-stop solution for kitchen supplies. This is also one of the stage that we are preparing to become big in absorbing the harvest from the farmers, from the fishermen, and so on. So I think yes, we are going there. When? Very soon. Very soon.
Yeah.
Eka?
Just to add a little bit more, I think what Sario was mentioning about, it's not that we wanna just increase consumption of meat or something like. No. It's more of like making like a more what's it called again? Making the processing more. Making the traceability better. That's one. Number two is also making the process more proper, because a lot of like the local so-called kind of animal processing or like storehouses are usually I would say like / cruel or something like that. So this is more of like making the whole process more proper. That's what he means. But it's also like we're trying to also like in the future, of course, like we hope that we, like, for example, for TaniFund, we hope that TaniFund could not be like the lending platform by itself, but actually more of like an enabler, so that banks and other lending, other financial institutions can lend or also provide their insurance kind of products like through TaniFund. So I think the future of like TaniHub Group itself, it's more gonna be like a platform, a connector. So instead of us doing it by ourselves, we're trying to enable like the existing kind of industries to be able to connect with the agriculture sector easily. Because, for example, it's like lending, banks don't want to lend to farmers because of collateral and other things. Insurance, there's very minimum products for like crops and also for the farmers. And also, like there's so many pasars, the markets, the wet markets, and all these local markets. But mostly these are exclusive only for certain kind of farmers. We want to make everything open, so the farmer can just drop his stuff at the closest market or the closest buyer. We want to be enabling. We want to be like a Google Maps, like for just telling them, okay, like you don't need to send to us. You can send it to. There's actually someone willing to buy your crops. It's just like 1 kilometer away from you. We want to be something like that. We want to make the whole process more efficient. Hopefully, food can be the price of food can be reduced. Quality goes up. Happiness, wealth goes up, and also less carbon emissions and less food waste. Because like if you check on the internet, I was like reading some books and some surveys, some articles too, and they're saying about Indonesia's food waste is like almost 50%, and most of it is because food doesn't get transported properly. Because if you live in Indonesia, you'll see a lot of these trucks that or small cars, like carrying all these vegetables, but they carry it in a whole stack. So usually the bottom part, because it's heavy, so the bottom part gets destroyed and usually it just gets thrown away. They already calculate that as like, okay, there's gonna be at least 5% waste and all that. And even Sario has a very interesting story where during his days at Hypermart, they used to import longan from Thailand, and when they imported longan, it took 7 days to arrive in Jakarta, but when they opened it, it was 5% of it was damaged. And because they had to also support local farmers, okay, so they bought longan from farmers in Java. It took less than 24 hours to arrive, but 40% was damaged. So that's just like how there's so many problems. We're just trying to attack one by one from every of our entities. But hopefully in the future we would transform into not a player, but like an enabler here, a platform, like a true platform, tech platform.
So thank you very much, because this has been a very interesting conversation. I wish we could continue, but we have reached our time. And I know that, when we started, our question was, how do we make our food systems work better so we can bring the food from the farm to the fork? And I think we really had this excellent, presentation from TaniHub on how do we make this work in reality. So thank you very much. I'm sure we all, I learned a lot. I think we all learned a lot on the practical realities of really bringing the value chain and the food chain to work better. So I really want to thank you, Pa Eka and Pa Sario, for your presentation. Excellent. Circulating it, and I'm sure my colleagues will be reaching out to you again for more conversations on how to work with you some more. And I want to thank Animesh and Leslie for providing their thoughts as a discussant. And I want to thank Grace and Astri and Vivek for making this webinar happen, for their help in organizing it. And finally, a big thank you to all our participants who joined us tonight. So thank you very much, and we look forward to your participation on the next webinar in our series. Thank you, and good night in Asia, good day in Washington, and good evening to everyone else.
Yeah, good day, good evening, good morning.
Bye.